All right, hello everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Mason. I'm the lead marketer for MarketerHire, and I'm going to be your host today. So I've been in marketing for the past 6 years, mostly in B2B tech. And today is especially interesting because we're going to be talking about one of our newest offerings, the Expert Assistant. And I've brought on Megan and Allison here, who's going to share a quick overview of the process and just some best approaches to getting an assistant integrated into your team and like best practices for a successful engagement with your assistant. And any questions again, please add them to the chat or in the Q&A below. So Allison and Megan, thank you so much for being here. Allison, why don't we start with you? Why don't we introduce yourself?
Awesome. Well, hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is something we're passionate about and excited to chat through. Yeah, I'm Allison. I actually work fully remote from Turkey. I've been with MarketerHire for about 3 years now, working across sort of all the products that we have. So any questions, I'm always happy to answer from Kentucky. But of course, the remote life is sort of the best for me. So yeah, that's kind of where I'll stop. Megan, I'll let you step in.
Awesome. Hey guys, my name is Megan. I have been with MarketerHire for almost 3 years now. I am in Nashville, Tennessee, so country music, here I am. Yeah, so Allison and I have kickstarted this expert assistant program almost 2 years ago now. So we love what we do and excited to get things going.
Wonderful, awesome. Megan, since we have you, talking, why don't we just continue and you give us a quick gist of the expert assistance and why we wanted to offer this product to our clients.
Yeah, absolutely. Always a great question. So our expert assistants can do so many different types of things. So we kind of vet in different categories. We have marketing, sales, and design assistants. Now they're going to be embedded offshore, located in the Philippines. The best part about it is they are pre-vetted, fully screened. They are fluent in English, college educated, and they actually work full time in like anyone's time zone. They are accustomed to working overnight hours, so something they're also passionate about. They're able to jump in and take all of those mundane tasks off your plate. So they can step in and different marketing tactics and different sales skills and all of the design needs. So that's just a high level overview.
Awesome, yeah. And why don't we kind of like zoom out a little bit too, like what are some of these like tasks and things that you hear people always saying that's kind of bogging down their day-to-day work that you mentioned that these assistants can help with?
Yeah, I would say, it kind of varies. We customize our matching process based on a client's needs. So marketing assistants are going to be always top for everyone's mind. They can help take social media off your plate. They can do all of the posting engagements, design aspects. They can help with email marketing. They can help with paid advertising, whether that's Google ads or Facebook ads. They can help take over some project manage to make sure everything is running smoothly along in the organization. SEO task, you name it.
Really great. Yeah, that's a lot of skills here. I guess like what are some of the common pain points that you hear from clients, I guess, like that might you think maybe it is time to kind of hire an assistant, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, I would say mainly what I hear is just they don't have the time, right? Like most marketing leaders, they just want to handle the strategy. They don't want to do the day-to-day, like the grunt work. Like with social media, they don't want to do the posting. They maybe want to focus more on the analytics, and same with paid ads. They want to see how things are running, look at the numbers, where can they optimize? Like they just want someone who can do the smaller tasks for them. That way they can focus on the bigger picture more long term. And I would say this is a really common ask every single day, like mainly with paid ads. They just really need someone for like the analytics.
Okay, and analytics. That's really cool. Why don't we like I heard Megan talk about the 3 different types of expert assistants, and maybe we could just like quickly run through some of these. I'm sure all of us are wondering like kind of like how they're all different, what kind of different tasks we can have for them, and what you think is the delineation between these 3 roles. And I'm just going to share my screen here quickly before just to take a look. Yeah, so yeah, why don't Allison, why don't you go through and tell me a little bit more about like the differences and what we how we think about these three.
Yeah, well, like Megan said, we do custom match to your needs. So these skills you see here, we can also match to roles that are even broader than this. I would say just let me know what you need, right? So like sales as an example, Megan and I both actually work with sales assistants. So if it's someone who's like an SDR who is doing your inbound and outbound calling to your day-to-day admin, like things you may not have the time for, like managing your calendar or going through your email inbox, those are things that are time boggling. And then design as well, right? So whether it's like video editing, someone do animation, or just general graphic design to help you check the boxes across all of the creative you need for organic and paid social, super beneficial there. And again, kind of going back to Megan's point of like marketing being the main ask that we get nearly every single day. This one is super broad. I would say anything you need beyond the points you see here. We can match to, but these are going to be the main skills that we have. And most commonly like paid ads, social media, and email marketing are, I would say, what we get every day, and then anything beyond that, we can still match to. But we differentiate the three roles as well, just so you do see the best success in your engagements. However, we are able to do more like custom matches for you as well. So if you want someone for sales to do maybe say like SDR work, but you need someone who can also help you with your social media, we can do that too. It may just take a little longer to match for, but that's totally fine. We can do that as well.
Okay, so these kind of three roles are not like exclusive people that are like all in different buckets, but you're able to kind of match across these skills up to a certain limit, right? Like up to a certain amount of tasks that are required.
Up to a limit. And what I always recommend is like we focus on what really is boggling you down. So say that you need someone to make calls for you, like you have lists to go through, you're out a sales representative, maybe someone left the job, focus on that. And then if you need assistance for like social media, they can do, 5 or 10 hours of that a week on top of their 40 hours or within that time. Add that as like a nice to have skill versus like a required skill. We'll focus on what you really need and then do like nice to haves in addition.
Yeah.
Okay, that's go ahead, Megan.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, just to add to Allison's point, a lot of our marketing assistants actually come from a sales background, so that's what they initially got into. So they actually have those skill sets as well, which is super cool.
Okay, that's awesome. And I guess, I'm sure me also thinking about a potential client as a potential client, like probably a lot of people come to you and like have all these needs, and like can you walk me through a little bit more about how you help figure out actually how to prioritize, or how do we ladder up into kind of addressing all these needs? Megan, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I basically try to get an understanding of what the biggest pain point is, because typically when I talk to people, there are many within the organization because there's just not enough hands on deck. Or even if you do have, a marketing director or CMO, they don't always have time to take care of all these tasks. So really just kind of focusing, hey, what are the top priorities? I suggest saying, I have clients that will start out with a marketing assistant first, and then on down the line, maybe 2 or 3 months later, they'll bring on additional people. So really kind of just identifying where the biggest help is that we can find, right? So if that is marketing to take over all of those mundane tasks, or maybe that's just having a design assistant take care of all the design video editing needs. So really just identifying with each individual person, because everyone has different needs, but it all is very similar.
Okay, that's really helpful actually. And I guess MarketerHire is known for being an expert marketer kind of platform network, and then now we have this expert assistant. Like, how do you distinguish these two, and how do you kind of help clients work through that difference? And yeah, tell me a little bit more about that, Allison.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, like you mentioned, so we did start with what we call our expert marketers, which could be like a growth marketer, SEO marketer, really, you name it. And we added on expert assistant. The goal was that we were finding clients who really didn't need people that could do strategy all the time. So this was something we brought on. So say that you need someone to work with like your chief marketing officer, or to work with your head of marketing or your content team. This would be a great time for you to reach out to us and step in for either designer, right? For the email templates, other ad creatives, things like that, or someone in marketing to handle some of those tasks you don't want to do. So I think it's pretty easy to differentiate. Like we can just hear through a basic 2 to 3 minute conversation of what you need, we know, just because we do understand both sides of the products that we do offer. But also it's a great resource, like say that you did hire an XM with us who's a growth marketer or whichever role, they supplement really well. This is something we do internally as well. Like you work with one Mason and they're awesome.
Right. So just to kind of backtrack too with XM, you mean expert marketer, like are there a lot of stories of like, companies working with an expert marketer, and then also then having expert assistant, and like, is there an example that you kind of share that was successful, or that you can kind of talk about maybe their use cases and how it helped?
Yeah, I mean, I think a couple, I would say probably 20 to 25% of the clients I have also do have expert marketers, senior level marketers. So it is pretty common. I wouldn't say there are too many specifics, but one thing I do find very common is a client who has a growth marketer and they need someone to help with the paid ads. That is super common. Like Google Meta ads, I find very common. And that's also really easy for us to match to on the expert assistant side because it is one of the top skills that we do vet for. And analytics, again, kind of going back to my point, I know a lot of clients that have growth marketers, they need someone for analytics and just to kind of keep tabs on numbers and performance, because those are things that they may not have time to do. Because if you hire someone for, a certain bucket of time in a week or a month, you do want them to focus more so on the long-term plans and sort of the development of the marketing strategy in the company at hand. So just in general, across like all the clients that I have, the expert assistants can step in and take over those tasks. Super common.
Right. Yeah, totally. Because I know that it can take a long time to extract all that data and then be able to get to insights. And so like having somebody go through all these different marketing platforms and kind of aggregate all this data, and then the growth marketer can then kind of like extract insights to be able to talk to the client about, like, that seems like a really good way. And I think and then I guess on the sales side, since you guys have used some assistants too, like tell me a little bit to how you kind of bridge that gap and make sales more efficient for you through assistance.
Yeah, I would say so. Oh, sorry, Megan.
No, go ahead.
Megan and I fully build our own pipelines, so we are fully outbound. So having a sales assistant who can do some of the calls for us or go through some of the lists and just send emails for us, it saves or at least for me, 3 to 4 hours in a day, just knowing that I can focus on the new business that we want to bring to MarketerHire, because that is, our jobs, right? So having someone who can assist us in those tasks that are just so time-boggling, it's incredible. Even just responding to emails for us that are kind of, throughout our pipeline, really, you name it, you can tell them anything you want them to do, train them up if you need as well, if they don't have the skill and it's something new that you've added. They're very flexible.
Yeah, awesome. And so this is my first time hosting. So, Megan, if you wanted to add something, do you have anything specific that you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say, very similar to Allison. Obviously, we work very closely together. But before we joined this team, we were also working on our expert marketer product. So Allison and I both have experience working with that side as well. So even on that side, they would help us with our matching. They would help, get our calls scheduled, help send out emails. They are able to use our CRM. They know exactly what to do, where to go. So just adding on to that, they can do anything, especially if you train them up on your specific brand, tone, voice. They jump in and are accustomed very quickly.
Great, awesome, yeah. And I guess too, now let's kind of talk a little bit about the elephant in the room. There are other services that have kind of like assistant, kind of help companies get assistance or offshore resources. Can you tell me a little bit more about how does MarketerHire differ from those services, and why why we have like a different product? Megan.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
My bad.
Yeah, happy to jump in on this. I get this question on a daily basis. So I would say there are many different differentiators here, but one of the biggest differentiators is going to be our vetting process. So MarketerHire started, back in 2019 of vetting expert marketers to, only accepting the top 5% of marketers who even apply to our network. Well, they go through a multi-step interview process with our assistants, and then their final interview is actually going to be one of our expert marketers who's already in our platform, actually running through and making sure they hit the nail on the head. You know, they are making sure that they have these skills, that they can demonstrate these skills, they have professionalism, you know, and so forth. That's going to be one of the biggest that I would say is most common on my end. We also have no long-term contracts. You know, we just ask for a 30-day notice to kind of wind things down. So you're not stuck in a year-long contract and not being, you know, need to use someone longer than you have to. You know, there's also, you know, many different reasons of just the caliber of talent. You know, we offer very competitive rates. You know, that's how we're able to attract and keep the best and the top talent, only accepting the top 1%, you know, located in the Philippines. So I would say those are a few on my end. Allison, if you've got additional to share.
Yeah, no, I think you hit the points I would. And I would say, like, actually something I would mention is here what you're sharing here, Mason, versus ongoing vetting. After all jobs wrap up, if a client does decide that they want to either hire in-house or bring on, say they were going from marketer and they need a designer now, so they swap out the roles, we always re-vet as well when jobs finish. So they'll go back into the vetting process regardless of how the job turned out, just so we can make sure the skills are still there. That's very important to us. But yeah, Megan touched on all of it.
Awesome. And did I hear correctly? You said that expert marketers vet these assistants as well?
We do. We have a pool of expert marketers that go in, you know, whether that's a growth marketer or a CMO within our platform, that is their final vetting process. So they have to demonstrate and showcase their skills to one of our experts to really kind of verify those skills. A lot of people, you know, that say they can do something that don't really do what they say they can do, but we like go through and we make sure everything hits spot on.
Okay, so this is in terms of the assistants, like if I were to think about kind of all the different services out there, like these expert assistants are actually like a little bit more, are actually more expert, more skilled than what you would usually think about as an assistant. Is that true?
Absolutely. I think a lot of different, you know, competitors out there, they vet more like generalists and they kind of do their own like onboarding and training. But what we do is we actually vet these specific skills to make sure they're already equipped. Now we have a talent team that checks in with all of our active engagements to make sure everything is running smoothly. But they're going to be equipped with these skills. We can verify like, hey, we vetted this person. This is the skill sets that they have. So it's going to be much more in depth than your basic generalist.
Okay. Yeah, and sorry, another thing to focus on as well, just like quickly, is like they aren't going to be generally just like at the assistant level. Like an example is we do tell you they'll have a minimum of 3 years of like global experience with like an American or an EU-based client. But this week on Monday, I sent someone to a client that had 15 years of experience. Like they've worked with incredible companies too, like large beauty brands. Like we do have people that are really seasoned as well, and they can definitely dip their hands in a little more and get a bit more dirty in your marketing. They're awesome.
Wow, that's pretty cool. And are there also kind of like examples of companies that are having, you know, multiple of these expert assistants, and how does that work in terms of the management of it and like how they kind of synergize with the client? Allison or Megan, like, do you have any stories around that?
Yeah, well, quite a few. I would say a lot of people like sales is really common. I have a client that has 5 sales assistants. They sort of just built out their team. They have senior account executives internally, and then they all just supplement them as SDRs. That's also what we do internally. So we can also speak to that just from personal experience, Megan and I, and also just our internal teams. For marketing as well, I had someone build out sort of their marketing coordination team, project manager, someone to work within their CRM, and they work directly together as well. And of course, for multiple hires too, we do offer discounts. So that always is something to think of. Like if you do, and it doesn't have to be within one organization as well. It could be one for marketing, one for, you know, admin for your billing team. Like it could be across the organization. It doesn't have to just be in one group.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So if I were interested in kind of getting started, can you tell me a little bit more about the roadmap of the MarketerHire experience? And, you know, I'm like, you know, from me wanting somebody to signing and actually starting and getting success with this assistant? Can you walk me through that, Megan?
Yeah, absolutely. So we start with a quick 15-minute call. It usually is pretty quick because there's not high-level strategy involved in these calls, right? So we usually have a set up a quick 15-minute call. We kind of run through your needs, kind of what type of skill sets that you're looking for. From that point, after that call, it usually takes about a week and 2 weeks max to find a match. But once we find that match, we actually get started with a kickoff risk-free trial. And then from there, I would say usually at about 3 months, you can really kind of have them fully integrated, knowing everything and hitting the ground running.
Wow. Okay. And for a first time hirer for this sort of thing, like what are some of the mindset advice you might give, and like how do we think about like delegating our work to an assistant? How do we prepare for that, Allison? If you wouldn't mind answering that.
I would keep it really simple. I would say over communicate. A lot of the engagements that I do see where clients have never hired someone offshore, they just have like one meeting and then they just do like a monthly meeting, and those just don't work because either party's like, you just don't know what's going on. I typically recommend setting up, and you can also keep tabs with me as well, but I would say do like a weekly meeting or a Monday and Friday meeting, or at least just in the first month, so you guys really get to know each other. I think in just sort of understanding each other's work styles, very important. Typically a project management tool, I highly recommend, whether it's Asana, whatever you use internally, I would get them integrated into all of your systems as well, just so you guys have access to the work that's being done and they can also communicate with you there as well. But I would just say over communicate. Like, I think that is really key. And that's just where I see the engagements fall through if they don't work.
Okay, so communication and like how long, like somebody who hasn't hired before too, like how long should they feel like something is rolling and like going nicely, and then because maybe somebody's like, oh, things have to happen immediately, but like what's a realistic timeline of when somebody can be integrated into your company?
Yeah, I would think of just like, say you're hiring somebody onshore and they're joining your company. Like, what does that onboarding process look like for you? Is it, month one, you do a lot of brand work and training, or however you want to work on that? I would say typically after a month, if they have done proper like brand work, they understand who you all are. The work really picks up from there. And I would say in month 2 is where you're going to start to see them fully integrate into your team. And then month 3, very successful and set.
Okay, I see. Anything you want to add, Megan?
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with Allison. It's pretty straightforward. The communication is going to be the biggest key here. Just setting expectations up front. Allison and I are both here to help, with your side as well at any time. We are have our clients at our first and forefront. So we're here for, concerns, questions, anything that is needed, just check-ins. So yeah, I agreed.
So in terms of the support that MarketerHire offers kind of during that time with your expert assistant, you guys will be available to help. Like, is there anything else that we should know too that, MarketerHire kind of continues as like a support?
Yeah, we do. So we basically handle everything throughout the entire process. So if you work with me or you work with Allison, we handle everything for you. You don't get passed around from team to team. So we check in with you. We make sure everything is running smoothly. And like I was saying before, we have a talent team as well that checks in with all of our assistants on a weekly basis, just to make sure they're running smoothly, making sure they're getting good feedback. If they have any questions, just having that additional support. I feel like a lot of other places don't really have that additional support. So I feel like having that is its key to all types of successful engagements.
Awesome. We are actually nearing the end of the time. If you guys have any questions to add, definitely pop them in the chat. I have like, 2 more slides that we can kind of show, just to kind of wrap that up. 1 second. I think just to get everybody clear on the process, once more, what you mentioned, right? Like we have like a 15-minute call, right? Describing your needs, right? Just filling a form, describing your needs, and then meeting your match within around a week, right? 1 or 2 weeks. And then you're going to be able to kick off your project, and we advise, weekly communication, or like as making sure that everybody's on the same page. And then, one thing I'm sure all of us are wondering is also the price for the engagement. Why don't you guys kind of go over this in terms of how the engagement works?
Yeah.
Alice.
Yeah, you get a full-time dedicated resource, so they're only going to be working with you. Kind of like we shared, they're going to get integrated into your teams. I would typically just recommend treating them as if they're a normal employee, right? So yeah, they're a contractor, but that's where, you're going to see the most success. Yeah, I would say that's really, it's super straightforward, right? Like $3,000 a month even, nothing more, nothing less. You can expect the same thing every month. And we invoice monthly on the same schedule as well. So you know when you're going to have to pay, and it's very easy.
Awesome. And I do have a question from audience, actually. And Juan here is wondering, do we have bilingual assistants? English and Spanish.
That's something that I've come across on a rare occasion. So it's not something that we specifically vet for. It's something that we're absolutely open to matching on, right? We can usually match to anything. We'll give it our best go. It's just not something that we typically vet for, but happy to give it a shot.
So basically, we're able to vet, but it could take a little longer time than just a 1 week turnaround time. Is that what you mean, Megan?
Yeah, absolutely. So typically, if it's not something that we already specifically vet for, it could just take us a little bit longer. If that's something that you're open to and willing to, wait for to finding that perfect match, definitely happy to give it a shot.
Yeah, awesome. Because I know that, I've used other assistant services in the past. I know that sometimes it takes like 2 months or 3 months to like find something. So, I mean, even a week to find somebody a match is already like quite fast. So, I just something that I noticed myself, that I was impressed by, this offering. Juan actually has another question. Are there part-time options?
Yeah, we can do part-time, but we typically recommend that you do start at full-time. There is a discount on the full-time, but it also is easier to scale down if you need versus up. So say that you start at part-time and you're like, oh, we need them to do more work for us, but it just doesn't fit into that time allotted. Then there is always the chance that if they do have another job, just because they will treat this more as like their full-time style role, you may have to switch people, which means you may need to retrain them, sort of get them back integrated into your teams. But that's always something we can definitely do and discuss with you as well based off of your needs, because we do want to make sure that we give you what you need, versus, what we can offer as well.
Great question. Yeah. And that's really good to know.
Definitely.
Any other questions from the audience, or Megan and Allison, like any cool stories that you're like, I can't believe I matched this. Like, this is like a really hard requirement, but like, were there any kind of these stories that, that became really successful that you can share with the group?
I actually have a pretty cool story. It's actually pretty recent too. I was working with a sports company, and they were looking for, some design work. And they were wanting someone that, fit their, kind of what type of style they were looking for. Well, we were able to find someone with, I think, 12 or 15 years of design experience. And they used to be the marketing director for the Olympics in the Philippines. So it was really cool to see it, and they've been having a great engagement since, so that was always sticks out in my head.
Wow, so we have talent that have worked on things like that.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Allison, do you have any stories?
Oh, you know what? None as cool as Megan's. I think on my end, I always try to just push forward and match to anything, like regardless if I know something we can do or not. And we always do turn around and deliver somebody. So there's nothing that I just think of that's like, oh my goodness. But we can match to anything. So nothing crazy to share. Like Megan's is a cool story, but we can literally match to anything. So
Awesome. No. Sorry for putting you on the spot, but yeah. And Megan, have any other stories too you want to share? I love these stories.
Yeah, that one always sticks out in my head. I mean, I'm very similar to Allison as well. I've worked with so many companies over almost the last 2 years that it's just, I think what makes our job easy is that, basically you tell us what we need and we're able to provide that. Now we have a whole team that takes care of everything, but we're those front faces that say, hey, here's what we need. And then I say, absolutely. And we present you exactly what you need. We have over a 95% success rate on our first match. So our matching team is pretty spot on as well.
Awesome. Well, really thank you so much for your time today. And also thank you, audience, for your questions. I just want to thank you for joining. And if you have any additional questions, please definitely reach out to Megan or Allison. We'll give you their contact information. And hopefully you found something valuable from this session. Really excited to see all of you. Have a great rest of the day.